Woo, woo. Hey, what's up, YouTube? Welcome to Play It Painted Live. Just getting set up for yet another, I guess, kind of late stream. Not terribly late. I mean, we're we talked about doing a 9:30, 10 o'clock start from here on. So I don't say that we're late. We're it's 9:34 right now. So I'm going to say we're doing okay, and I'm just going to live with it. It's cool. But anyway, just getting a little set up here. Let me show you tonight's miniature that we'll be working on. This is, who is this? I have no idea. I threw the package away. Some sort of like enchantress type, like almost like a, she reminds me of like, one of the Saracen models for Eldorado, Fatima. And she kind of reminds me of that, kind of like a flowery child, ethereal type of miniature. So we're going to paint her tonight. It's just going to be another one of those fun things that I paint. This is a Pathfinder miniature, I believe. So it says Ricola on the tab here, but I don't know if that means anything or not. So I'm going to do that. Whoa! And that was interesting. So one of the springs hopped loose on my on the lamp. So we got an extreme close-up. Here we go. Still going. There we go. I'm not seeing any video on the YouTube side, so I'm going to refresh that. Anyway, let me go clip this little tab off, and then we'll stick her on a base. It's a one-piece miniature here. Again, this is from Reaper. It looks pretty cool. I think this is going to be a fun one to paint. I hope so anyways. It's mostly just kind of flesh and cloth and a couple other details. So let's just remove any loose and we're not going to be doing a lot of airbrushing, probably just to prime. Honestly, I don't know. I think if I do, well, let's just see how we go. I might do a little on the robe, but it's going to be mostly just a standard paint job on this model. Trying to get rid of the tab here. But yeah, we're still on that kind of late start. My son isn't on a good schedule yet, so he's I think, in fact, I think they're still awake right now. So we're going to have to deal with that. Hey, what's up, Tori? Thanks for tuning in. Okay, so just a little bit of a file there on the feet. And this miniature. And then we'll get into, what I plan on using this miniature for. That's not bad. I might be able to just use that. Maybe something simple like that. It's kind of cool. Or failing that, I could also do, this is not bad either. Maybe I'll just do a little cobblestone base. Probably be okay. Well, brick cobblestone base like that might not be too bad. But given that she's kind of a, like a flower child looking miniature here, I think I will actually use this kind of moon base, but I'm going to do, no, what else do we have? Maybe we have something a little more natural looking for her. That's not terrible. Let's see if I can find something a little natural looking. Here's one that actually might be okay in terms of it's got like wood on it, like broken wood. That's not bad. Not quite what I'm looking for though. Let's see. I'm actually looking for something kind of dungeony. So, if it has a kind of a rocky side to it, that might work. Not really seeing anything here that's sticking out to me. I have anything else maybe back here somewhere? Not really, huh? Nothing. Okay. So we got to make. Let's just do that. There we go. All right. And now I'm going to put a little pin in her foot right there. But tonight I'm not going to use the low power drill that I normally use for pinning. I'm going to just use a good old fashioned pin vise. And I hate these things, but since we only have to drill 2 holes, I might as well do it, huh? Unless I get really annoyed with it. Let's see, now I'm going to find a bit here that's going to drill nice and clean. Nothing's really sticking out here to me. There's a bunch of... My bits are all kind of beat up. Yeah, none of these are very good, are they? That's worrisome. This one seems okay. I might have to... If I do that one, I might actually have to put it in the bit driver, though. This one might work. Let's see. Oh, wait, I got a few more. Might have a good one in here. Might have a winner. That one's pretty good. Yeah, I'm going to go with this one. This one seems... Yeah, okay. I need new pins. I need I'm sorry. I need new bits for my pin for my pinning. As you can tell, I shred up these drills because I do a lot of pinning. Ugh. I think given the condition of those bits, I am going to have to abandon the pin vise idea and go with a little more power. So let's do that. All right. Okay. While I'm doing that, just a quick announcement. Don't forget this Saturday is Paint Day at Comic Quest in Lake Forest. So this Saturday from noon to about 5 or 6, I'll be there painting, and I'll be on hand to paint with you. So bring in your projects, bring in your paints. There's going to be a sale on paints and paint supplies at Comic Quest while this is going down. And we're just going to hang out and paint. We may actually have some room for some games if you wanted to try out maybe Eldorado or Saga. That's probably what we're looking at because those are our next events. So anyway, I'm going to drill a nice little hole here. So drilling a hole in the foot. Yeah, these bits are old and beat up. They're not doing much. That normally would have been enough drilling to give me a little pocket to put the pin in. But the bits get dull over time when you use them, and based on the size of paper clips I use, I end up using mostly the same size of bits. So they don't last very long. Might have to actually switch bits here. Not getting what I want from this. What about this guy? This one any good? This one might drill. Let's try it. Let's try it. It's a little skinnier, but it'll have to do. The other thing is with these bits, you got to make sure when they spin, they don't wobble too much. You want them to stay pretty flat. Otherwise, you'll have some problems. This one cut really nice. You know what? That's enough of a hole there to put my pin in. So I think we're pretty good. There we go, good. All right, I think we're good there. While we're at it, I'm gonna pin this little model. This is an old Colette Dubois model that popped loose, and I guess painted her so long ago that I didn't actually pin her. Kind of embarrassed about that, but hey, this is what I used to do. So I'm gonna run a pin through this model. Yeah, this bit is cutting pretty well. I just wish it would cut straight, you know? Yeah, that's good enough. All right, and she's gonna go on this, so let's see. How did that go? Did it go this way? Looks like it went like that. Maybe it went this way. Like that. Yeah, that's exactly how it went. So I'll drill a little hole right here. All right, there we go. And then I'm going to drill a little hole right there to correspond to the model we're going to be painting tonight. There we go. Okay, looking pretty good. All right. There we go. Put the drill bit away. So you guys get to see these days, because of how late this show comes on and because of my inability to actually prep before the shows anymore, you guys get to see the whole pinning and the priming and everything. So isn't that great? All right, and let's put that other drill bit away. Okay, and let's go ahead and clip a couple of pins here. If you're just joining the show, let us know what you're painting or what you should be painting. Tonight I'm going to be working on this Reaper Pathfinder miniature, whose name I do not know because I was dumb and I threw her package away. But here's pin going in. There we go. And yeah, this is an old Colette Dubois miniature that I painted some years ago that I'm just kind of restoring. I do actually have a little bit of a plan, and I'll explain that as part of tonight's topic. Okay, so Scott Williams, kinda, yeah. What's up, man? All right. So I'm gonna glue the pin into Colette's shoe. Yeah, I'm planning on restoring this miniature, or what I used to do is I just buy a brand new one and start over. But this is not a bad base. I mean, I painted her a couple of years ago, maybe 4 or 5 years ago. And I want to repaint her, maybe freshen her up a little bit. The face I'm not terribly happy with, so we'll work on that. But yeah, so, and let me I'm just going to glue her to the base, to her base, and that way I can come back and have a look at her later. There we go. So I'm just gonna glue her down there. Just hold that in place, let her dry. Then I'm gonna glue our tonight's model into there. That's not bad. All right. Then we'll prime, then we'll paint, and that'll be our night. All right, painting up a Descent V2 core set for a client. Nice. I think I painted a V2 core set for Descent for on a commission once. Those models are actually pretty good, the ones that come in that set. Really fun, and good variety of monsters to paint up, and the heroes and whatnot. I've never actually played Descent, but I did paint up a set, so that sounds like fun. The plastic is a little soft on those too. That's not necessarily a bad thing, because they don't, at least with my experience with them, they didn't paint up poorly. A lot of times if you have soft plastic, I'll notice that the models just look a little too shiny. I don't know if that's been your experience, but that's been mine. So, and we'll put a little dab of glue there. And there we go. And I'm just going to hold that in place for a minute. And we're going to get the primer ready. So, sorry in advance for the sound of the compressor. There we go. Lord Draconum, hello. Hey, what's up? So glad that we actually have sound this week. Last week's video was a disaster. I had recorded about an hour in, didn't realize that Google, see, the thing is Google Plus will start you off default on mute. And it was doing that forever and ever and ever. So I was used to turning it off mute. And at some point, Google Plus had just kind of wisened up and said, hey, this guy doesn't like being on mute. So I didn't have to do it. So I went through, a number of weeks where I didn't have to take my mic off of mute in order to get sound. And then for whatever reason, last week, it decided to put me on mute. And for those of you who recall the Google Plus interface, you kind of have to hover over the top of the screen to see if your mic is on mute or not. I didn't bother to do that. I just had assumed that Google Plus had still known that I don't like mute. So so I did the whole, I did over an hour of rambling, and didn't realize that I had been on mute the whole time. So then I went ahead and edited the video. And when I edited the video, it did another weird thing to me. It decided that it would keep the audio of the second half of the broadcast, but show the video from the first half of the broadcast. So that was not my best show, guys. Not my best show, but whatever. It's a funny story. We're all good with it now. Okay, let's see. A little not too bad. Nothing a little dull coat won't fix. Oh yeah, we're talking about the shininess of the that Descent corset. Oh, not too bad. Looking for a job at the moment. Well, that's cool about the sound. I watched some of it. Then had to head to bed. Yeah, good luck looking for work. Hope that you can find some work. It's always good to have something to pay for your miniature habit, right? Oh man, trying to pull the needle out of this. Ooh, there we go. And let's clean it up. Yeah, so last week's show, bit of a disaster. Apologize for that. I had half a mind to give you guys another stream in the middle of the week. I just couldn't swing that with my schedule. So we're back at it tonight. I would eventually like to get back to 9 p.m. start, because then but that's okay. I'm just bitching for no reason. Honestly, I would be up till 11:30 anyway. It's just a matter of like after I shut down the show, I usually just kind of wander back towards the bedroom and eventually fall asleep. It's just a little less time to do that, but I fall asleep all the same. Hey, what's up, Bob Nolan? Paragon, hey, from Tales in the Hey, what's up, Bob? Welcome to the show. Gonna get ready to do a little priming here. Ooh, wow. Looks like somebody didn't do a great job cleaning their airbrush the last time we used it. So I'm gonna have to come in and clean it up a little bit. There we go. You doing any painting tonight, Bob? It must be late for you. It must be a late, well, I know a lot of you guys are like on the East Coast, or not. I should just say not on Pacific time. So those of you not on Pacific time, this is pretty late, unless you're watching from Australia, in which case it is it's probably early afternoon for you guys in Australia. All right, so here we go. Just a little gray primer. I don't think I'm going to do the whole fancy zenithal stuff I normally do, just because this is a pretty simple model. So we're just going to do a nice simple basic prime job. All right, so let's go ahead and get going. So we go thin layer and then coat. Okay. Central Time, so 2 hours later. So you're looking at midnight just about. Too bad. Ooh. Ugh. I hate, okay. Here's one thing. When you prime something and you notice a really nasty mold line that just shows up out of nowhere, and you're like, where did that come from? Hate that. Hate that. Much worse in the plastics. On these metal minis, it's a little easier to fix. And you don't really need, yeah, on metal, it's pretty easy. So I'm just going to give it a couple of hits here and there. And I'm not trying to, I've got no pressure on my file. I'm just kind of knocking it down. Okay. And the good news is, because the airbrush is still up, we can actually fix our prime job. Yeah, bedtime started work, school counselor this week, so so you are also in the educational system, same as my wife, she had students today, so today was kind of a rough one. And this year she's teaching three classes of freshmen. So that's kind of rough. I have no idea how she does her job. Obviously, we look at each other's jobs and, she teaches high school kids. I manage adults. These are both activities that neither one of us would want to do for the and the other person. So we just kind of, man, I could never do your job. And she says, oh yeah, I could never do your job. So we're both happy with or reasonably happy with the line of work that we're in. Obviously, everybody wishes they'd made a little bit more money and had to work a little bit less. Or if I made like I don't know, 10,000 a month on Patreon from you guys, then I could just paint all day. I could just do these streams constantly. Wouldn't that be awesome? When you guys want to just pay me to do stuff that I love to do? It was a joke. I don't actually have a Patreon, by the way. Just funny. All right. Trying to clean out my airbrush a little bit while the primer is drying, so that now, if I want her to have a white cloak, I could actually do that with an airbrush, but I'll be honest with you guys, I don't feel like doing that. I'm gonna paint this the old-fashioned way. Started as an English teacher, 7 through 12. First day with students will be the 26th. Yeah, see, they started school way early. The teachers only had 8 weeks off for summer vacation. So she's back, and none of the teachers are happy. I think eventually, though, they're off for summer early this year, like sometime in May. So I guess it all evens out, I suppose. So yeah, Lord Draconin, what type of work are you looking for? What type of professional trade or anything like that are you in? I guess I should ask. Anyway, let's get our paint palette ready here. Yeah. So yeah, usually I do a zenithal prime. Tonight, though, working on something simple, something fun. Tonight's topic is the title of the show. We're going to talk about a game that I encountered for the first time last night, at least on the table, Frostgrave. Let me show you guys this. This is the model from last week. So this is the Reaper miniature. So there's him. He ended up being way too big for the Saga army that I painted up. He's just way too big, way too, Viv was right. He's just a little too fantasy looking. He looks like an Age of Sigmar model, right? This guy would make a great Age of Sigmar model. I was thinking of using him as either Augustinus for Eldorado, or more likely the Doppelsoldier captain, because I'm using Augie, I'm using Gus for Gus, so I would use him as the generic Gus, which would be kind of cool. So there's him. You can see the transfer on the shield is still shiny. I need to fix that. But believe it or not, and I don't think I can get this to focus at all, but that is the Play It Painted little Aegis there, and it does say Play It Painted in Latin. because that was actually a suggestion from the feed. So I went ahead and did that. I'll show you the transfers. So I'm going to transfers out of that. And so these are clear transfers. This worked out really cool. You know, made the image real small, put it on my printer, and then painted the shields on the armies. They're all kind of blues and the blue and bone white, and so you just put it right over it, and it, you know, it's subtle, but it looks pretty cool, I think. Let's see, is he metal or that plastic? He's actually metal. Big hunk of metal model there. He'd be great maybe without the wings. People might be confused a little bit with the wings. Yeah, he's a cool looking model. But now we're going to talk about maybe using him for tonight's game that we're going to talk about, Frostgrave, right? So Frostgrave was something that did not have, at least locally, it didn't have much buzz here locally. We kind of saw it show up a little bit on some of we saw some of the North Star promos for it and whatever, but it was like, okay, well, whatever. I think we were kind of engrossed in another game at the time, so it never really registered. And then one day, I was watching Justin Borges, watching his channel, and he, you know, and Justin is he's a fun guy. He usually, you know, he's usually fairly low key, but this video kind of grabbed my attention because he was just so excited about the game, and he was like, you know what, stop this video and go to Amazon and have a look at the rule book for Frostgrave, because you know, he said, I think you're gonna like it. And so that kind of caught my attention. Then he went into the book, and he started to show off some of the features of the game. And so as he started to get into it, like, you know, how you build your warband, and the whole, you know, every warband is start off with 8 spells, and you have a wizard, an apprentice, and then soldiers, and everything that he started to say about the game really kind of grabbed me, really kind of caught my attention, because these were all, he was saying all the right stuff that I tend to look for in a miniatures game. You know, all the criteria: low model count, campaign mode, simple combat mechanics, experience, everything. Yeah, Robert. Yeah, I'm talking about Frostgrave from Osprey. And so, and he went over, and one of the big selling points too is he went over he was thumbing through the book while he was explaining, you know, the basic mechanics. And here I have a copy of the book on me. So here's the rule book. It's a nice hardbound rule book. You can get this on Amazon Prime right now for 16 something, like 16 bucks. But 16 bucks for a hardbound, you know, 100 plus rule book, full color, great artwork, great miniature shots. So if you don't want the hardbound, or if you're like me, I like to have a PDF copy of the rule books on my phone, and a hardbound copy, because, you know, sometimes you need to be looking at things simultaneously, or sometimes I'm just at work and I want to look at rules and that kind of stuff. So yeah, so I went ahead and bought the rule book, and as I started to read through the rule book, you know, everything that he was that Justin had said on his video, you know, really started to resonate, and I was like, okay, this game I could get behind. Open source miniatures, love that. Now I know that North Star makes the official range for Frostgrave, but, you know, it's an Osprey game. Osprey games are, you know, they're not so they're not bound directly to the manufacturer. So if you look at the rule book, you'll see from Fireforge Games and from a few other companies as well. And I always liked that about the Osprey games, is it was like, you know, they really just kind of published the rule books, the rules, and so it's like, you know, use whatever miniatures you find appropriate. And for a guy that paints a lot of miniatures, and unfortunately, I'm in the position of playing a few games that are no longer, that are discontinued, aka Anima Tactics, and I like a bunch of other miniature ranges. I look for reasons to put stuff on the board that I really like, even for games that are currently out. Like, you know, a perfect example of that is like Relic Knights, and my tendency to want to field Takawashi miniatures for Relic Knights, because I absolutely love those miniatures. So, you know, anytime I can field exactly what I want and get a decent game out of it, is a win for me. So, just painting in some eyes here. All right. Let's see. I just saw something that said werewolves. Yeah, there's like there's creatures and stuff in Frostgrave. There's like zombies, werewolves. There's like golems. So there's like, you know, all your typical D&D flora and fauna in there. So it is $25 directly from Osprey, which is still cheap. Okay, didn't realize it was. But yeah, you can also get it from Amazon. It's like 16 bucks. Frostgrave sounds a lot like This Is Not a Test, just a different setting. Yeah, I know Viv is covering This Is Not a Test, which is kind of like a apocalyptic style game. That sounds like fun. So we'll see how he covers that game. This game really kind of grabbed me though, because what's cool is it's your warband is all kind of based on your wizard, and your wizard advances and learns spells and gains levels and gains stat bonuses, and then you have an apprentice whose stats are based off the wizard. So as the wizard gets better, so does the apprentice. And then the rest of your warband is basically soldiers and you know, mercenaries, that kind of stuff. Now their stats stay the same, but you can equip them with like magical items and that kind of stuff, and so you can give bonuses to your soldiers that way. So yeah, and what's cool about the wizards are when you make your wizard, you select their primary school magic, and you know that from the primary school, there are 10 different schools. You can once you pick your primary school, you pick 3 spells from your primary school magic. Then you pick 1 spell each from each of your 3 aligned schools of magic, which are a little bit harder for your it's not his or her primary school. And then you have 2 more spells that you can pick from neutrals, from any of the, I believe it's the 4 neutral schools. And then you have an opposed school, which you don't, out of the gate, you don't get to choose any spells from. So 8 spells from, let's just say, a total of 8 spells from 6 different schools of magic. That's a lot of customization right out of the gate. It's a lot of, there's a lot of ways you can build your sorcerer. You can build your wizard. You can build your wizard to do very specific things. And again, that's a lot of very, very fun customization there. Let's see. Can I have my Frostgrave warband led by a mind flayer wizard. Now they only have humans available in the game. There's some rumors that with the expansion they may have other races like elves or something like that. With how these games are made or put together, I really don't think anyone's going to object to you fielding a mind flayer and selecting spells appropriate to that mind flayer. So let me show you guys let me dot this eye here, dot these eyes, and then I'll show you guys one of the things that I'm planning on doing. So 2332 from Amazon after taxes and shipping, at least to Kansas. Wow. So is it no longer Prime? That sucks. Because I had mine on Prime. It was like 16 something. Why is my black not behaving tonight? Interesting. Just gonna dot the eyes here. Then we'll get back to it. So usually I have to do this off camera. I'll pull the camera in a little bit though, so you can see. This model for a 30 millimeter model, she's a bit tall. She's a bit tall, and I cannot get this black to. Can't get the black to work for the life of me. What is going on? There we go. And let's do the other side. Okay, sorry about the silence. But got to get this part right. Otherwise, I hate the rest of the model. It's one of my things with paintings. Like, if I don't get the face of the model right, I pretty much hate the model. Doesn't matter how cool the rest of it looks. It will always bother me. Okay, that's not too bad. I just need to dot that bottom part there. And here. There we go. Okay. All right. I'm not a Prime member, but it is $16. I see. Okay. Cool. Man, sorry. Still not 100%. Oh, wait. No, that should work. It'll work. It'll work. I just got to trust me. Here we go. Okay. Let me show you guys what I was doing, and let me kind of bring this back. So at the start of the show, you saw me pinning this Colette Dubois model, right? This is the metal Colette Dubois. This is a really nostalgic model for me. It's always like my favorite master from Malifaux 1.5. I know that there's a new Colette crew out that they released for M2E. I'll be honest with you, I really hate how they did most of the masters in plastic. I think the masters are terrible in plastic for the most part. There's a couple cool ones. Karis is cool. I don't know. I struggle to think of any of the other ones that I really like. But anyway, why did I do that? Because I don't play Malifaux anymore. For those of you guys that are in the know, I don't play Malifaux anymore. But after I saw the rules for Frostgrave, I decided, you know what? Let's try it. Let's put it's a crew. Well, it's a war band, right? Quotation mark war band that is led by a wizard, has an apprentice, and then has soldiers. And what does that group structure look like if not Malifaux, right? In Malifaux, you have masters, you have henchmen, and then you have minions. Well, gee, that seems very similar. Also, Malifaux masters are usually spellcasters, you know, and they're Malifaux 1.5 using Frostgrave rules. And so I picked an illusionist build because, hey, that's what she was, at least in 1.5. I'm not too keen on what her current playstyle is like. And she did a lot of transposition. She did, like, short jump teleport, that kind of stuff. She did misdirection. She made you do, she could make you do willpower checks. And so what I did was I went through and I built my wizard, my Frostgrave wizard, based on stuff that Colette 1.5 could do. And it turns out that the replication was really good, that I could actually build a wizard that would behave very, very similar to that old Colette, and that just got me. And I was like, wow, I'm in. I will be playing this now, because it's just a nostalgic factor. The fact that I love these old metal miniatures, and I know that all the companies are basically pushing towards plastic or even resin. I love metal miniatures. It's just me. That's just what I've always loved. And the chance to break some of these old miniatures out and use them free form for a game like this, I have to jump on. It's just awesome. Let's see. Just order it. That's my splurge extra for the month of August. Well, I hope you enjoy it, Bob. I think you will. I think you will. I think it's should be a very fun game. I know you have a lot of miniatures as well that would be appropriate for a game like this. Would Anima Tactics work as well? It's funny that you asked me that, Lord Dracona, because that is my other plan. As you guys may know, I'm a huge fan of Anima Tactics. I love the Cypher sculpts, and will always love the metal Cypher sculpts for Anima Tactics. And in fact, we still play Anima Tactics, but any chance I have to use those miniatures for other games, I'm going to jump on. And in my opinion, now the Frostgrave setting, let me back up for a sec. Sorry, I always do this. The Frostgrave setting is set in a more medieval type, medieval fantasy type setting, right? Which is fine. But I mean, who's to say? Who cares? It's an Osprey game, and as long as you're playing something where you can reasonably identify, okay, that could be a wizard, that could be a soldier, that could be an apprentice. Who cares, right? So that's the other thing we're planning on doing, is because we're going to be using. Our group has decided to use 30 mil as the standard for human size bases for Frostgrave. We're going to be building some Frostgrave warbands based on Anima minis as well. Okay, so let me finish cutting the shape around the eyes here, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Ooh, don't screw up. Don't screw this up. Okay. Definitely have a lot of miniatures. I agree in regards to metal. I'm getting used to plastic though. Yeah, when Weird moved to plastic, I was okay with it for the most part. It was fun because they released, that was back when they did like 10 Thunders and all that. And I thought that was cool. But the old school miniature gamer and painter in me is still a big fan of metal miniatures. It's one of the main things that drew me to Cypher in the first place. Was I loved metal miniatures, and Cypher was one of the last of the known guys to really do it. Supported games that are still metal. For example, Dark Age. So Dark Age is a cool mini game, still mostly metal. and that's just my preference. And I think it will always be my preference. Can I paint plastic and resin and all that? Yes, of course. And I'm not really, it doesn't bother me to work with those materials. It's just, if I have my druthers and someone's offering me a metal model, I'm going to paint a metal model. I mean, even in Relic Knights, I still use my metal Fiametta instead of the plastic one. Despite how fiddly metal Fiametta is, I prefer the sculpt. I still have I still use this this metal Rinfara because I think it's a better sculpt. I love their metal sculpts. And yeah, it's fiddly. This gun barrel, I don't even want to breathe near that thing. You can see it's not straight, but there you go. So here we go. So like I was saying, yeah, you were asking about anima, right? Here is Sarah Reinhold from Anima Tactics. Okay, one-piece model. I had actually considered painting her tonight as part of this topic, but I didn't want to confuse people too much with regards to this particular topic. So Sarah Reinhold, I'm going to break the model out of the clamshell here to show you. And you can see, this is a church model. She's holding a book. It's got a sensor, like a ball sensor in her hand. I mean, that screams wizard / apprentice to me anyways. I'm probably going to field her as an apprentice because, Sarah's kind of a younger, she's supposed to be a little bit of a younger lady here. But yeah, I mean, look at that for Frostgrave. Fantastic, right? It's a fantasy setting. So who's to say you couldn't use the aesthetic of Gaia or anima for that? Obviously Wizenshaft might look a little weird, but who cares? Again, it's Osprey. You could substitute a crossbow for a gun, or because the shooting is so simple, so simplified in the game that as long as the people you're gaming with don't care, and in my case, we play anima too, so our group is like all about it. For sure we're gonna field anima style warbands for Frostgrave. I think it's fantastic. I think it's should work out really well. Let's see. Speaking of Cypher Ninja Division, what do you think of the new resins? Or like you mentioned, it's late in my area, so I'm heading off to bed and wish I could stay. Oh man, sorry. I'm going to answer this while you're in bed, but hope you have a good one. Seen the new resin stuff up front for Ninja Division. But I did order a lot. I ordered a lot for Gen Con. But so I will have a lot more to say on that subject once my stuff arrives. My general experience with resin has been, for the most part, positive. Now, I will caveat that by saying I really don't have too much experience with fine cast, or as a lot of people like to call it, fail cast. So I can't really speak to that. The resin, most of the resin kits I've worked with were like the old, Malifaux had a couple of resin kits. Their avatars, they had resin bits on their avatars. Also, Arena Rex is an all resin line, and I liked Arena Rex. It scared me with how fiddly some of the bits are, the resin bits. It's fantastic that the level of quality and clarity they can get in resin, but sometimes it backfires. For the most part, though, I would say that I'm pretty excited to see Ninja Division, in particular Relic Knights, moving to a higher clarity material like resin. I think it's a good move overall. Would I love to see them in hard plastic? Absolutely. I think hard plastic, if you're gonna produce a high volume, or the expectation of a high volume game like Relic Knights, yeah, hard plastic would be, in my opinion, the way to go. But resin, I'm just as happy with. So I think overall, it'll be pretty good. Anima looks great. I picked some of them up for fun to paint. That's actually everybody like back in the day when we were all pretty hardcore about Anima Tactics. That's how we started. It was like we just bought Anima minis because they just looked awesome, looked super fun to paint, and that's where we started. But and then we tried out the game, and as it turned out, the game is actually pretty fun. I heard some bad things about the game, and I can see where you could be playing. The game does have the potential to be abused, or to allow for some really wonky stuff to occur. But I had mostly, for me, I've had pretty much all positive experiences with the game, so I can't really knock it. I was a big fan of Anima Tactics. That was the game that really drew me over to Ninja in the first place. Dice on Damage. Since you mentioned your Gen Con order, Octave has yours shipped an email today asking how much longer it would take. Since they said pre-Gen Con it would ship the week after. I have, yeah, my order has not shipped yet. I actually placed 2 orders because I forgot to buy more stuff. So, yeah, neither one of them has shipped. I just assume with how small Ninja is and how flooded they got with the online orders that I'm not honestly expecting to see any of that stuff till September. And I base that off of, previous experience with Weird, who is about the same size, maybe slightly bigger in terms of their warehouse and that stuff. We wouldn't see Gen Con pre-order stuff from Weird wouldn't show up till, mid-late September. Some guys weren't seeing stuff till October, November. So I would expect the same from Ninja Division. I think that it's going to be a while. And I'm just used to kind of having to be patient with the Gen Con stuff because that's just how it always goes. I super cannot wait, though, for those questing nights. I think resin was a great way to go. I would have loved to see them in metal too, but resin's fine. And the clarity, at least on the photos, looked great. So really looking forward to that stuff coming in. All right, so now I'm just sort of paint in all the fleshy bits here. Now this is kind of weird. I would normally, if I'm painting this much of the model, I would mount the model, but I still have to paint in facial details, so I am not going to mount the model this time. Now just getting the base coat down. September, damn, I need to get you that lost starter from Eldorado turn. Now, if it's part of the same order, it might get delayed. If you ordered it separately, that might have been something they could have shipped out. But I don't know. Yeah, what we can do is if it doesn't look like it's going to make it, we might be able to, and then you can just replace the models or something, or I don't know. We'll figure it out. I might have means of getting a hold of one locally. Talking about maybe going down to At Ease Games. They may have one. So during Saugust, we can check to see if they have a lost starter down there, because they carried Eldorado down there, and they have a fair bit of it. Ooh, a little bit of flash I need to get rid of. So if you're just tuning in, welcome to Play It Painted Live. Let us know what you're painting or what you should be painting. Tonight I'm painting a Reaper miniature, which is some sort of ethereal gypsy lady. And we're talking about the game Frostgrave. So Frostgrave from Osprey Miniatures. I'm actually painting this model as one of a wizard for Frostgrave. She could be either a wizard or an apprentice, leaning towards like an enchanter. I think that's what this model reminds me of. So she can be an enchanter. And then I would build her other spells based on that. But very fun model. Okay, so let's get back into the Frostgrave description here. So anyway, so you build a company and you have 500 gold coins to start with, and you hire your mage and your apprentice and select your mage's spells, and then you hire your soldiers. And your soldiers, you really cannot have more than 8 soldiers, because you're going to have 10 models max in this game. You're going to have a wizard, you're going to have an apprentice, and then up to 8 soldiers. You may end up with less than 10. I think most of the time you will end up less than 10, because if you're going to buy, if you're really trying to fill out the rosters, then just as with any game, you're going to end up buying a lot of poor quality soldiers, as opposed to buying a highly elite squad of soldiers, maybe knights, trained soldiers, that kind of thing, as opposed to just hiring street thugs and the like. And they have stats for both in this game. So I would imagine most of the time you may have a mix of highly elite, well-trained units. You probably take a bowman or a crossbowman, maybe a couple, to give you some kind of ranged capability. You might take a knight for armor and combat, and you might take some, a mix of other types, to kind of round out your warband. So once you have your warband put together, you're going to get ready for a game to play. Now, Frostgrave plays on a 3x3, which is awesome because I have lots of 3x3s that I use for Relic Knights. I used to use them for Malifaux. And then you have your terrain. And according to the fluff for Frostgrave, Frostgrave is an ancient city called Delstad. So it was an old city that had been buried in ice for 1,000 years. So most of the terrain is going to be like ruined buildings, fantasy style terrain, that kind of thing. You can have snow, and the game calls for a lot of terrain. It calls for like an infinity level of terrain, which is kind of cool. So according to the rules, they don't like it if you have more than, say, 12 inches of open space as like a firing lane. It's supposed to be really cramped, really crowded. The city is going to be in various states of ruin, so you're going to have to kind of climb and maneuver and battle around all of that type of stuff. So yeah, be ready to field a lot of terrain, which I think is kind of cool, and a lot of fantasy terrain at that. So that's cool. All right, so you have a 3x3 board, and basically most of the games of the standard game of Frostgrave is basically treasure hunt. You put down put down 6 pieces of treasure, because essentially what it is in the game, your wizard and his warband, his or her warband, are exploring Frostgrave specifically to find gold and artifacts, powerful magical items for their own personal use. Or maybe they were hired by another entity to enter Felstad, aka Frostgrave, and bring back treasure of this kind. So pretty much the whole game is based on a treasure hunt. You've got 6 treasure tokens on the board most of the time. There's some cases where you have more or less, and you're kind of racing your opponent to try to pick up as many of them and run off the board with as many of the treasure tokens as you can. Or the alternate thing you can do is you can just try to smash your opponent's face in and wipe them off the board, and then you can pick up the treasure at your leisure. So that's kind of how you build your company for. You're either gonna, or you'll probably do a little mix of both. Running treasure off the board and then killing your opponent. The turn structures it's a limited alternating turn structure. What I mean by that is, so at the start of each turn, both players roll an initiative roll, and this game uses d20. So you're going to roll d20 versus your opponent's d20. The winner of that roll will be the first player for the remainder of the turn, and the other player will be the second player. And the turn proceeds as follows. You start off with a wizard turn, and during the wizard turn, the first player's wizard will go, as well as up to 3 soldiers within 3 inches of that wizard, kind of like bodyguards, right? Makes sense. So you can chain activate, not exactly, but you can group activate with up to 3 soldiers that your wizard is close to. And during an activation, you get 2 actions, one of which must be a move. So you can move, you can move, you can move, cast a spell, you can move, take an action, that kind of thing, right? And I'll go over casting spells and all that stuff as part of this as well. So that's the wizard phase. Wizard and up to three guys. Then the other player's wizard goes, same thing. Then it goes to the apprentice phase. Then you start back with the first player, his apprentice and or up to 3 soldiers within 3 inches of the apprentice go. And then same with the other player. So that's the apprentice phase. Then you go to the soldier phase, where all the soldiers go. So all of the soldiers from one player's side will go simultaneously, and then all of the soldiers from the other player's side will go. So it's not exactly an alternating activation, but it works out just fine. I mean, the mechanics are pretty simple. After all of the soldiers and controlled models have gone for both players, then you have a creature phase where random creatures on the board will get to go, and there are rules governing basically the AI of those creatures, who they will move towards, who they will attack, that kind of thing. Because when Frostgrave, the snows of Frostgrave started to melt, then yeah, all these creatures were discovered. All these supernatural creatures, zombies and wolves and all that kind of stuff. So your basic D&D fare shows up. And what's cool is, like, during a typical game, you can just for flavor, for fun, you can put like creatures on the board, like, hey, loose lion, rawr, a Rex line, loose lion in the town. You can do stuff like that, and there are stat lines and rules for loose dogs, lions, that kind of stuff. So it's pretty cool. So you can really build thematics into this game. All right. So anyway, let's get into spell casting, and then I'll describe combat. The game mechanics are so simple that I literally have only played one game, and I have no problem explaining to you guys the core game mechanics, right? So anyway, for spell casting, you have a number of spells. The spells have a target number. It's a number that you're trying to roll equal to or greater on the d20. That is then modified by whether or not it's your primary school, or is it a neutral school to you? Is it an allied school? So you get penalized for casting outside of your discipline. Allied school, so you'd need, let's say the target number were 8, you'd then need a 10 on a d20 to cast that particular spell. It's +4 if you're talking a neutral school, and it's +6 if you were to try to cast a spell from your opposed school, right? So in the case of our example, if it's 8 normally, and you were trying to cast that spell and it's part of your opposed school, you would need a 14 or higher to cast that spell. The cool thing about casting spells is there is a way to boost your cast. So I know it's a D20 system, and D20 has the one downside to D20 is it has wild variation to it, right? Because you could roll 1, you could roll 20, and there's lots of numbers in between, yada yada, and so that's high variability. But what you can do, let's say you're casting a spell and you needed a 10 to hit that spell, and let's say you rolled an 8. Well, you can actually boost the spell. The spellcaster can boost the spell by sacrificing 1 point of health for every point that they wish to add to their casting total, right? So, if you needed a 10, you rolled an 8, you have a decision to make. You can go, oh, well, if I really want this spell to go off, I can spend 2 health points and make it so, right? So that's a pretty cool option. The other thing to let you guys know, if you're trying to cast a spell and you fail by a wide margin of points, you will actually take damage for failing to cast spells. Like if you fail to cast a spell by more than, say, 5 points, let's say you needed that 10 and you rolled a 5, you'd actually take 2 points of damage. So that can also I don't know for sure, but I think you can just sacrifice some health most of the time, just to get your total up when you do need that spell to occur. And if you think about it, you might end up taking 1 damage for failing the spell. You might as well spend, say, 2 health to get the spell to work. I like that. So yeah, so you do that with spellcasting. That's how spellcasting works. Now, if spellcasting is if you target an enemy model or even a friendly model with a spell, they have the option to try to resist that spell, and they would resist that spell with their willpower stat, and it becomes essentially an opposed roll, which is what this game uses. This game uses opposed D20 rolls. So for you Infinity guys out there, this will make some sense to you, and it's a really cool, clean way to handle to resolve combat. So as I'm explaining this is actually the same type of roll that we would use for a shooting attack, a melee attack, or a direct damage magical attack. Okay, is the opposed D20 roll. I'll use melee as a prime example because that's what typically what we get is melee. So with melee, you have both players roll a D20, and then they add their fight characteristic to that roll. Fight characteristic and maybe any other modifiers they may have for weaponry, that kind of stuff. So then you generate a total from that. Now the winner of that roll wins the combat. They basically succeed in hitting the other guy. In the case of shooting, it's the shooter, the attacker uses their shoot stat. The defender uses their fight stat, and it's also an opposed roll because the defender is trying to dodge. The defender wins in a shooting attack. There's no damage done. He basically just dodges the attack. In the case of a melee attack, either player can win the roll, and damage may occur. Now, here's the weird thing, the weird and kind of cool thing. It's literally a single die resolve system. So, for example, let's say I'm rolling to hit. We're in melee, and there's 2 models, and one model rolls a 14, and the other model rolls a 4, right? So model A rolled the 14, model A successfully hits. Now, how do you calculate damage? All you do is you take that original roll, you subtract the target's armor, and that's what tells you how much damage you do. So in our example, Model A rolled a 14, Model B rolled a 4, Model A wins the combat. So you take that 14 that they rolled, you compare it to the target model's armor of 10, and the difference is 4. You do 4 damage to the model. See? So that's pretty simple. It's a single die roll, and that's how you resolve the combat. The interesting thing that we found last night playing using this system is we found a couple of things. One, it's if the opponent fails to beat your armor score, even if they beat you or they tie you, who cares? They're going to do no damage. So, for example, let's say I rolled a 3, you rolled a 7. Who cares? You might have hit me, but you're not going to get past my armor of 10. And most, if not all, models in the game have an armor of 10 or higher. So it's like, well, if the attacker rolls really poorly, there's not much use in a defender rolling, unless we're talking melee, in which case the defender might hit the attacker. But when both rolls are that low, it's not even really worth, you just kind of know that nothing's going to happen, right? The other side to that, you saw a couple instances last night where give you a +5 shooting attack, right? So they rolled the dice. The defender gets a 19. The attacker, with the bonus, ended up getting a 24. So the attacker, the shooter in this instance, hit, which was cool. But now check it out. So because they have a 24 and the other guy had 10 armor, he took 14 damage. So basically one shot the dude with an elementalist spell. So you'll see stuff like that just based on this system. Yeah, there will be cases where, when both players roll high, or at least when the attacker rolls abnormally high, the amount of damage is going to be insane. Most of the time, though, it's fairly normalized. You'll beat your opponent model, and if you're over 10, you're going to do X amount of damage over 10. So most of the time we were seeing, oh, okay, well he did 4 damage, or he did 5 damage, whatever. It was just a few instances where they buffed up this spell launched at +5, and they hit that natural 19, that natural 20, and just ended up one-shotting the target. So just be aware of that. I still don't consider it a bad thing, considering all the miniature games that allow you to just one-shot opponents. It really shouldn't happen that common, but again, this is dice rolling, so who's to say what's actually common? Odds are odds, and it's the same odds every single time you pick up the dice. So anyway, just be aware of that. So yeah, I really like the combat system because it made things nice and quick. I like the activation system because it's just sort of a move and then do something, right? And so we played a game, and instead of fielding like a 500 gold coin, we kind of did an intro game. I gave the two guys that were playing each a generic warband. I let them pick their wizard and their spells and all that, but I made sure all the soldiers were the same type. So they each had a crossbowman, they each had a thug, they each had a knight, and they each had an infantryman, right? So now this is just for the demo game. And that turned out to work. Out pretty well. And 6 tokens on the board. We saw that there's 2 things going on. There's a race to try to pick up the tokens and get off the board on one side, and then any actively pursuing treasure are trying to hit each other. So despite the number of times we had to look up rules and all that kind of stuff, we were finished with that game in well under an hour. The game was nice and quick. Once everybody got the combat system, it just, the game just kind of took off on its own. and it was great. So, uh, so after the game, we went into post game because it was a learning game. We wanted to see, okay, let's do some example post game rolls. So, um, the game ended in a tie. Both players ended up getting 3 treasure tokens, and so for each treasure, well, the first thing we did is we rolled on injury tables because both wizards died or were removed from the table during the game. So you roll on an injury table. It's actually fairly lenient on your models. You know, you have to roll really low, like a one or a 4, 1 through 4, or something like that. Then the model actually dies. In the case of a wizard, the book just tells you if the wizard was under level 10, just start off with a new one. If he was over level 10, you might consider using your pointing your apprentice up to being the new wizard, which I think is cool, and then adjusting stats based on that. So we rolled on the injury table, so that was cool. Then for every treasure token that we picked up, you roll on another table that tells you what you get, and that's another fun part. You know, you can get gold, you can get magic items, you can get spells, you can get potions. You know, hey, it's your typical D&D fun romp, the old treasure rolls. I mean, who didn't get excited when it was time to roll up treasure? That was a great part of the game. It's a lot of fun. So we did that. Then we did experience. So you're again, only your wizard gains experience in Frostgrave, and you have to be paying attention to specific things like the number of times your wizard or your apprentice successfully casts a spell. That's worth experience. If your wizard is responsible for killing models directly, that's worth experience. If you know, the number of treasure tokens that your party gets off the board is also worth experience. So just like any good post game, you check your experience as well. You gain levels. With those levels, you can learn new spells. You can make it easier to cast existing spells. So that's a very, very fun part of the game. It's a big draw, big portion of why somebody might be interested in playing Frostgrave. Because like I said, the combat system is very simple. The games are very fast. And you get this great experience within the space of an hour, hour and a half of playing a full game, doing all your post-game stuff, leveling up your guys, and then getting excited for the next game. You know, it's that same kind of team management that you get from Blood Bowl, or gang management that you might get from, say, Necromunda, Mordheim, Gorka Morka, that kind of stuff. And it's fun. It's one of the things that I'm looking forward to seeing more in miniature games. Be cool to see that in, say, you know, Ninja All Stars when that comes out. And it's the reason why people like to play fun narrative campaigns. So I need a pale green. I need a pale green. I'm going to do kind of like a greenish eyeliner on this model. I want her to look a little exotic. So I'm going to take some of this scorpion green and mix some flesh color into it. Believe it or not, we are moving through this model fairly quick. I know it doesn't look like I've done much, but yeah, moving through her pretty quick. So I'm going to add a little water there. Then I'm going to add a little of the flesh color. You always do that when you're doing makeup to soften up the color. Blend a little bit of the flesh color into it. There we go. So I'm going to give her I'm going to give her the green eyeshadow, and I'm also going to give her some lipstick. So I'll take some of this Warlord purple and do the exact same thing. Mix that with the flesh base. So our enchantress will look like an enchantress. And you just don't want to go overboard with makeup. It's funny. It was like one of the things I had to learn from leaving 40K. You know, the big, 40K is all, basically a sausage fest. Nobody wears makeup in the 40K universe. Maybe Dark Eldar dudes do, but you didn't get to do too much of that. All right, so here we go. We're going to put some eyeshadow on. And again, it's a kind of a pale green eyeshadow I've got rocking here. Might be a little too green. No, it's okay. And get it above both eyes. Now, I typically don't go all the way across with this. I just go along that outer edge. And I slowly drag a little bit of it back to blend it. You kind of want to feather it into the skin. What you don't want is you don't want a hard line there. You want to be able to see the tone on there, but you don't want it to look like, you hard painted it in. Okay, and now let's do the lipstick. This is a really fun little model. I'm having fun, even though there's not really much to paint on the model, but she's fun. Her lips are a little big. She's fun. Let me zoom in on the face here so you guys can see. Oh, there you go. I don't know if the camera is picking up the green or not. My eyes always look like fully black on camera, but you can see the pupils in there. There you go. There. Looks pretty cool. Okay, let's keep going with the skin, and then we can basically we do the cloth, we do some sandals, we do a little detail work, and she's done. Her mouth down a little bit, because I just feel like they sculpted it a little too big. And then I have to think about how else am I gonna, what other colors am I gonna paint this model? Haven't decided what color the sash and the robe are gonna be. I'm leaning towards like a cool white color. Or, I could also do, I don't really like painting red. Just don't get along with reds for the most part. But I could do blue. We'll do green. I don't know. Well, I think I will do that. Do kind of a white robe-ish color. Really enjoying this. All right, let's mount her on this. So now that the fine details of the face are done, we can do this number. There we go. Yeah, because, okay, so the cobblestone will be like gray. So, I mean, I could do red to kind of balance that. I could do, that's a good idea, maybe light blue for the hair. And then, you know, if I wanted to, maybe her outfit's green. Maybe I go pale green on her outfit. I think that would be kind of cool. And then just like gray for, okay, I like that. All right, so let's finish the flesh. And yeah, I mean, her actual clothing here is going to be really simple. I don't know if I'm going to wash the flesh. I may not. I may not do any washes on the flesh. Let me just kind of make sure that I'm soft and blended here. And just be happy with it. Yeah, maybe light blue for the hair. Pink for the flowers in the hair. And then green for, like a pale green for most of this outfit. Let me adjust my camera angle here. There we go. Yeah, I have a lot of fun painting Reaper miniatures. I don't like all their sculpts, but the ones that I do pick and I like end up being really fun to paint. Speaking of which, I mean, I can even do stuff like, where is she? Ah, and finally put her on the board for something. I mean, she could be part of that warband. She's fun. Put her in. So, Frostgrave, giving me opportunities to put stuff on the board. Gotta love it. Green would be cool. If you don't want red, I tend to paint a lot of my miniatures red for some reason. It's my favorite color. I like red as a color. The problem I have with red is I tend to over highlight and overshade red. So my reds look really weird. They usually look like a burnt sienna or a pink. You usually overdo it. With light blue hair, I think my options are green, gray, you know, maybe even a yellow, but or even like I could go with like a bone color like I did on the Twilight Night. It's actually not a bad thought. Not a terrible thought. Because then she would match the Twilight Night if I wanted to include the Twilight Night in the same warband. But I probably won't do that. So right now I'm just gonna highlight up the rest of the flesh with basic skin tone. Now, when I do stuff like this, I just go super, super thin. It looks really weird, wet, going on wet, but it dries down nice. Dries down with a nice little transition. Could do a design on the rub, that's true. It's actually not a bad thought. Maybe I could do a floral, if I do a pale enough green, could do a floral design on the robe. Real simple. I'm just painting this up for simplicity because this is going to be, this might end up being like a demo extra wizard for Frostgrave. Not exactly my main warband for Frostgrave. You know, now that I'm looking at her, I do think I need to give her a wash. Okay, let's do that. I'm really gonna thin out my wash though. I'm not just gonna. So I'm gonna go Seraphim Sepia, but I'm really gonna thin it out. Because I don't want to. I'm probably not going to do too much more highlighting on this miniature. Light blue is just an idea. I was thinking of a magical glow with her hair. Yeah, no, I'm totally down for that. I think an enchantress with the light blue hair will be nice. So the sepia wash should blend in some of those harder lines that I had. Kind of help blend them together. It's kind of nice. It softens it up. And I thinned it down enough to where it's not like causing a tint or overpowering the miniature. Just helping to smooth transitions, that sort of thing. Troy Perez just finished the book. Should be here this Friday. Good luck, man. I hope you have a group to play it with, because this is the type of game that you're going to enjoy playing with a group of regulars. I dare say this is the type of miniature game that you bring your Pathfinder friends over to and teach them how to play. You know, since that RPG element is present with the campaign style game, this is a D&D style theme. You know, might be a good transition point for them. And the mechanics are nice and simple. Okay, looking pretty good. Let's start on this robe. So we're going to do a pale green on the robe. So my base color is going to be this light green right here. All right. So here we go. Do you thin your wash with water to keep it from darkening too much? Do you just thin? That's part of the reason why. Um, I like the ability to layer it up. Like, I'm gonna let this wash dry down. If it's not giving me enough shade, I can just come back and hit it again, and then I can actually start to target the more recessed parts of the model without having to without running the risk of over darkening the model. So I don't know. I don't know if that answer made any sense at all. But yeah, it's a good general practice to thin your washes. There are instances though where I won't thin a Citadel wash. Now for a Vallejo wash, I always thin Vallejo washes. That's one of the things. I think the Citadel washes do a much better job. If you want to use something straight out of the little jar, the Citadel washes are going to be better. The Vallejo washes are a little more viscous. They tend to bead up a little bit. So you are going to want to thin those regardless of what you're doing. Oh, look. Okay, so I've got a couple of options here. This little sash can actually be a different color. So I could actually add a little more color to her if I choose. Ooh, hold on. And I think I may do that. I may give her a little bit more color by making that sash kind of like the off-white color. While she's here too, I might. Oh, okay. So that could be like almost like a non-metallic gold there. Okay. So we'll do that, and let's paint all this stuff green. Let me actually get out the bigger brush to do that. Okay. I found that in general, a lot of miniature painting, a lot of your experience in miniature painting goes into how you decide to thin things, what you thin them with, and for what purpose. Most of the time I thin with water, but I do have my reasons for using things like matte medium, glazed medium, or thinner medium. Just depends on what I'm trying to do. One of my things for this year was to get more experience behind using glazes and glazed mediums. And the best place for me to do that was actually painting Infinity. Infinity and all the highly, the really fine detail they have on the armor of Infinity and those models, which are, usually pretty fine, pretty finicky. That called for a lot of glaze work. So I got a lot more experience behind applying glazes, mixing glazes. This is just your standard. So tonight we're just doing this is a standard, let's just paint a miniature up. Yeah, I'm thinking I'm gonna do a little bit of I'll do a purple on the rest of the model. So she's purple and pale green. Or I could just do green on the whole model. I just think she needs another color to help offset her. So yeah, I'm pretty excited about Frostgrave. I think this is just going to be one of those fun little games that we break out, and it's like, hey, I want to build, some of my friends and I are big anime fans, so it's like let's recreate some of our favorite anime stuff using rule sets, and we were doing that with Anima Tactics, all the more so with this type of game, where you can customize your your wizard. So okay, now, trying to imagine all of this put together. Maybe not so much pink, maybe pale blue. Let's try pale blue. Let's just try it. Try to limit the palette a little bit. Instead of going, the color theory says go to purple if you're doing green for your complement color. And I can see how that provides a nice contrast, but I don't necessarily want that on this model. All I really want to do right now is find my Azure. Where? You guys can make fun of me if you want. I just do not I do not store my paints in the best manner. And that means some fumbling around to find the color I want. So let's go Azure. And I'm also going to use Azure as so the hair and the sash are actually going to be similarly colored. I just may take up one or the other a little bit higher. Okay, so now let's mix. So I'm going to base coat them both in Azure color. Okay, so there we go. I may actually do the sash kind of a cool white. Now during the week, I don't really get to do very many singles. So painting with you guys, pretty. Okay, I'm just going to do a single. Oh, wow, look at that. Didn't hit the back of this arm with the wash. Let me do that while I'm back here. There we go. Oh, that was bad. Hold on. Fix that. There we go. Sometimes liquid hits liquid when you're painting this fast. You want things to dry quick, but in the case of washes, they don't. You need to let the wash actually really dry. Same with glazes. They take a little bit drier. Mine is hidden. What does storing your paint mean? I know. I just have these. I have a couple of plastic bins that I just pile all my paint bottles in. And the colors I use most frequently tend to float to the top of that. So if I haven't used a color in a while, say Azure, I have to do a little bit of a dive to find it. Okay. Pretty good. This really is a fun model. Speaking of fun stuff to paint, if you guys, if any of you guys collect Arena Rex, that Medusa model just came out, and that is an awesome model. As part of the Kickstarter, I had Hroka and Kahota on my my list. These are that they're not going to release, and they're not anywhere near releasing. So what Red Republic decided to do is they just gave me credit, store credit, and I just kind of sat on that store credit. And then, when they said, "Hey, new release Medusa," and I saw that, I'm like, "Okay, sold. I can use my credit on Medusa." So I did that. I got her, and I got another. I got one of the Legio 13 guys. I forget his name. It's like the older general guy. But that, and adding those to my Arena Rex collection. Mainly, okay. I'm thinking I need more variety. I'm mainly using P3 paints. I used to use a lot of P3 paints, and P3 paints are fantastic paints. I don't necessarily like the pots that they come in. It's probably one of the main reasons why my collection is, I kind of phased out of P3, but they have some colors that are fantastic. They have a great skin tone, Rinflesh, which I would use as my top highlight. A lot of times I'd start down here with deep skin tone or whatever, and then make my way up to Rinflesh at the end of it, and that always looked fantastic. So she's looking pretty fancy. I don't know if we're gonna finish her tonight. Probably not, because I kind of took my time. We did a lot of talking. That's okay. I'm really just gonna paint here until I get tired, or until all you guys are like, "Good night," and I'm out. I'll have to get up early tomorrow and do that whole work thing. Okay. I agree about the pots. The Medusa model looks sweet. Yeah. Really looking forward to getting her. She'll probably be here in a week or so. And maybe I'll save her for a live stream. I'll paint her live, because that model is pretty sweet. Okay. Next color I need to do is yellow ochre. So let's do that. Because I'm just going to do like a generic kind of a gold jewelry look. Now that when I wash that, I actually will wash that with the full undiluted Seraphim Sepia, because I want a burnished gold look. So dot a couple. She has a couple of pins here on her scarf. Now what's cool is I could actually field her and that dude I painted last week, part of my Frostgrave crew. I could even throw in that succubus pirate and say that she's a mercenary or whatever. Then if I ever get any war gear that increases speed, she will automatically get it. Well, I'm looking at the time here. It's 12:30. Guess I should try and get some sleep. She would be nice to see painted up, meaning Medusa, but I'm liking the look of the sorceress. Thanks. Yeah, have a good night, man. Thanks for staying up and for commenting. Always good to converse with you guys while I'm painting up stuff. And yeah, if you tune into this, if you tune into the recorded version of this when it goes up, you will probably see at least most of her painted. She may not be fully done, but you'll see most. Okay. Next color I need is brown. I'm just going to use a generic brown on the sandals, so I'm going to use this flat earth. So this is just the color blocking the first base coat. Nothing too fancy here. I don't know if I am going to end up painting like floral patterns or anything on this model. We'll see. Probably not. Probably just keep her a nice basic painting standard here. Maybe if she turns out to be an awesome wizard in the game, maybe I'll paint, I'll start to embellish her a little bit. Thanks for putting on the show. Enjoy your painting. Thanks, man. All right. I think I am going to need to do another wash on the flesh. It's just not, it's not that it's not dark enough. It's just not, it didn't smooth out as much as I'd hoped it would. So I will do that here and continue to block out color while that next layer of wash is drying. Okay, so now let's get back to the wash here. Okay, so you can see I am going heavier with the wash. I'll come back and re-highlight up. I think overall, though, it's going to make my transitions look a little bit better. So yeah, she looks too dark right now. But again, don't worry. We got a plan. We're just there we go. I kind of like this hair at this kind of pale blue color. I probably won't highlight the hair up to white. Probably just mess with it at this tint. So she has a little bit of that, you know, otherworldly feel to her. And we'll do the little burnished gold. There we go. Okay, so we'll let that dry. And now we're going to work on the that cobblestone. I need a gray for the cobblestone. I'm going to just do this really, really simply. You can see I'm going through my very extensive paint storage system to find the color that I need, color that I'm looking for. Is called Basalt Gray. Where is Basalt Gray? All right, maybe I'm not looking for Basalt Gray. Wait. It's here. Just have to be patient. Boy. That's my Basalt Gray gone. There's no way. There is no way, sir. All my black gray is here. Black gray is here. Charcoal gray. Black. Wait, that could be it. Basalt Gray, found it. Okay. All right, so Basalt Gray. Wow, it's been a while since I used this color. I think it's because when I'm doing like stonework or that kind of stuff, when I'm typically in the neighborhood of this gray, it's been like I said, it's been a long time since I've actually just kind of knocked out a miniature with standard pot and brush almost all the way through. There we go. Okay. Looking pretty good. All right. Let's start to highlight up the flesh, get it back to where it was so that we can finish up this model because we're getting pretty close. I'm just gonna okay. Models with a lot of flesh usually take a little bit longer for me because I put in the extra layers, make sure that it's how I like it. She looks pretty good though. A very fun model to paint. We're going to put in a little overtime tonight to get her to a standard that I'm pleased with. She's pretty ripped, this chick. Pretty ripped. Main thing with painting flesh is, like I was saying before, with almost all things, but especially flesh, go thin. Go really thin. because you want those transitions to be as nice and as smooth as possible. You don't want the flesh looking textured. You want lots and lots of light bouncing around flesh, because flesh is so complex when you look at it. It's got color flying everywhere usually. That's weird. I didn't mean to do that. That should actually be blue. That's like a sideburn looking thing. Screwed that up. Let's fix it. There we go. All right. So maybe I won't finish the miniature, but I'll at least finish the flesh. Now, let's just see. Let's just see. I have faith. I think we can do it. I think we can do it. This chick might be the most scantily clad wizard in all of Frostgrave. That's kind of what I'm going for. It's going to be your typical enchantress who just does not need or want much covering. You know, her beguiling beauty is part of her power, right? Okay, last highlight on the flesh. There we go. So just the tops this time. Top of the nose, top of the cheeks. Here we go. Get the little tip of the chin here. And do a couple spots here above and below the boobage. The very top part's where the light's gonna hit. There we go. Like that. Okay. Doing pretty good. Yeah, she's way ripped, this chick. She's pretty cool. All right. Give you a little bit of a highlight there, tops of the muscles. Or like six-pack abs. Oof. There we go. There we go. Cool. All right, so there's that. Now, doing a couple of highlights. So I'm going to mix a little verdigris in with that pale green. We're going to do a highlight on the green. Should go pretty quick. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to make it, folks. It's already 1:45 out here. That's okay. We'll actually at least be at a reasonably good stopping point. I'm going to do a highlight on the green and a highlight on the blue just to kind of show you where I'm going. You can kind of extrapolate how the model is going to look at the end. Because it doesn't. You can see how I'm applying this highlight. Okay. Right. So when you're doing highlights like this, the main focus is trying to get the raised edges, and the rest of it, you're just kind of grabbing with whatever soft edge of the brush you've got. Because it's more important to feather it out than it is to have that. You don't need the color, the highlight color, to be that striking. It's just all you're trying to do is convince people that light is falling on a certain way on the model. All right, and then let's do this kind of light blue highlight. It's actually coming along pretty well. It's going to mix in with the azure a little bit. All right. So you can see I'm going pretty striking over the azure. It's because I want the sash to actually end up looking more white when this is all over. So this is a pretty big highlight. There we go. And I'll actually come back and do it twice. The hair, though, when I do the hair, it's just going to be a real kind of like this. Just a little streak. Nothing. I want to keep the integrity of that azure color in there. And so the purpose of this glacier blue, that's what the color I'm using, is just to pick up high points. That's it. This will become more apparent when I apply the second highlight on the sash. So see, that's all I'm going with the hair. I'm going to apply the second highlight on the sash, and then you guys can see what I'm talking about, that I'm actually going for a more white color on the sash than I am on the hair. You can already kind of see it. So I'm going for a cool white color on the sash. And in fact, once this is down, I will actually drop just a really fine white highlight, just to reinforce the fact that this is white and not blue. This is a pretty standard recipe for me, and in cool whites. I'm a big fan of cool whites. Don't mean that in any sort of racial way. All right, so now let's get some actual white on that. I'm telling you, this model's almost done. We might as well, let's just knock it out. We're done. I can paint a floral pattern onto this model, but not that important. All right. I do have to wash the cobblestone. I can do that pretty quick. There's the actual white going down as the final highlight of the sash. And so now it should start to become pretty obvious that we're trying to end up at a different color than the hair. Okay. That's fun. Let's do a little wash on cobblestone. I don't want to use that. I want to use a black wash. I think I have, that's not it. I'm going to use this. I'm going to use Nuln oil, even though I don't really like the sheen that Nuln oil gives you. It should be okay for this. Right? So I'm just going to go Nuln oil on the cobblestone. And then just let that dry. See? I mean, I could very well leave it that way. For the sake of ending the show, I'm going to paint in the black lip, and then I'll close up on the model. I will off camera just come back and highlight that cobblestone, but you'll be able to see the gist of what scheme I'm painting this. And so this was a basic, it's just basic paint job. That's what we do during the 2 hours of this show. Just basic stuff. Okay. Don't forget to join me Saturday, August 15th, noon at Comic Quest in Lake Forest, California. Doing a paint day there. I'm going to be painting up something fun. I'll be there to help you prime your models, give you some advice on just getting basic paint techniques. It's really I'm more equipped to help beginning painters than some of you more advanced guys that could probably show me how to do a few things. But yeah, that's what it's about. It's about getting people interested in trying their hand at painting, to pick up the brush, pick up a couple paints, and have at it, and try to enjoy the hobby. Also, while I got you guys here, I want to give a shout out to Miles and the crew, Miles West and the crew there over at Of Dice and Demons, that podcast. It's a new Eldorado podcast. You guys should check it out if you haven't done so already. There are links on the Cypher Facebook group for that. I'm really excited to hear some more Eldorado content by these guys. So that should be pretty cool. I was, they've worked with some of the folks that worked on Total Command, the Eldorado Hobbycast, which I was a big fan of. So it'll be good to see some more Eldorado being talked about again. All right. So let's let that dry down. So you can see the basing isn't done. It still needs we need that Nuln oil to dry, and we need to highlight the cobblestone stuff. But you get the gist of what I'm going for here. I'm going to put away some stuff. We'll show off the model, then we'll close the show. If you guys have any other comments or anything, now is the time. Any comments on or any questions? I hope you guys do check out Frostgrave, because I think it's going to be really fun. Not a competitive game, although I was already coming up with some organized play formats for it that I think would be fun. But yeah, not the type of game that you're going to try to crush people in. This is more of a, hey, I can't wait for my wizard to get his next spell, or I can't wait to roll up treasure type of game. So very fun from that standpoint. Okay, so here we go. Here's tonight's work. You can see the face looks pretty good. Still need a little bit more work on the flesh, it looks like. And but overall, pretty fun model. She's going to be great in Frostgrave. She already looks like a fun enchantress type thing. It's the back. Shading on the green could use a little work too. Probably hit that with a little bit of a wash. But overall, pretty happy with it. She should be a lot of fun. So that's going to do it for this video. Once again, I want to thank you guys for watching and tuning in. Can't wait to see Paint Day this Saturday, and then Saugus the following Saturday, and then Eldorado tournament a couple of weeks from that. So much to do. Having so much fun, you guys. So that's going to do it for this video. I want to thank everybody for watching, and we'll catch you on the next one.